Hello everyone, happy Friday. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's a time where we can relax and craft together, and we work on projects, and we work on them from beginning to end so you can be part of the whole process and see the whole thing through, the mistakes, the wins, all of it. So thanks for joining me. Today is special because it is Finish It Friday. It is the first Friday of the month, and on every first Friday, we grab a project that we haven't worked on in a while, an unfinished project, a UFO, and we drop everything else and we work on that instead, getting some of those unfinished projects done. A great way to start out 2019. Today, however, is a little different. I received my Kollage interchangeable knitting needle set in the mail. I got these on Massdrop, massdrop.com. A month or so ago I purchased them, and it takes a little while for them to get to you, and I received them yesterday, so I'm going to open them up and show, let's try and assemble them together. There is a little assembly required. They're interchangeable knitting needles, so we will be an interchanging knitting needle is you have the needle part and then you have the cable. We'll be switching those out and seeing what we can do with those. I've never had an interchangeable needles. They are also the Kollage square interchangeable needles. So they are a square needle. They're not tubular. They're a square tube instead, which is pretty interesting. So I've looked up some information on how to use these needles today, and we're going to give it a try. I did have to quickly cast off the end of a different project before I could start this one because I wanted to use the same yarn. So I did actually finish a project to start this project. So it was a little bit of a finished Friday for me today, and I'll show you guys that as well. So all right, I'm going to flip you around. I do have information on these knitting needles from the website Luette of North America below here if you want to check that out, and a link to it as well. But we'll take a look at this and we'll do a little knitting. I'm going to knit not a whole dishcloth, but I'm going to show you how I do these little dishcloths with the cotton yarn, and I'm going to do this to test out these knitting needles. So all right, I'm going to flip you guys around. Let's get going tonight. All right, my mess from yesterday, but here we are tonight. So this is the Kollage Square interchangeable knitting needles, and it's by Luette of North America. I thought it was Louet, but I watched some videos and they seem to call it Luette. So they're made in Canada. So Luette of North America, they're the Kollage full interchangeable set. They do have a mini set as well with a few less needles and cables, but this is the full. So it came in a little bag like this, but it came in this cute case, which I just love just right from the get-go, because first of all, it is small. It is only this big. It's not some big, contraption. And it is not pink. It doesn't have swirls all over it. Sometimes I just hate that when manufacturers make things, for women, and they have to put like all the swirls and pink and purple all over it. So immediately I'm very happy that it looks like denim. It's not though. It's just a printed blue, but it kind of appears like denim. So already I'm happy that I can have a bunch of different size needles and cables all in one. So really the purpose of interchangeable needles are so you don't have to go out and buy new needles with each project. Like I have some knitting needles here for my last project. These are size 9 with maybe a 24-inch cable or something. any project that would require, you know, a size 12 with a 24-inch cable, I'd have to get a whole new needle. Or I'd have to, you know, if I need a longer cable, I would have to buy a whole new knitting needle. And I'm kind of over that. This was on Mass Drop, and I didn't buy it the first time, and then I finally splurged for it. It is not cheap. Let me tell you that first. Do not, if you're just starting knitting, do not get this. Get just a plain knitting needle, or borrow some knitting needles and start with there. This is if you're just sick of buying all the different needles and want to do something else. So you can check that out. So, all right. I'm opening it up here. There are some instructions. We'll look at that. But just at the get-go, I know I looked at this a little bit yesterday, but we got some small needles here. It looks like, I think it's from size 2. So you can read right on here. They're made out of aluminum, like an aluminum alloy. So this is US 2. These are itty bitty bitty. And then it goes up to size 11, I believe. So that's the full set. So they said in some videos that they put out that they don't go larger or smaller than the 11 or 2s, just because then the ergonomics of the square kind of go away, like they're not beneficial anymore. But here's the size 11. So here's what I mean by the square. You see, we got flat sides all around, which I've seen these once before, and I'm like, what? That seems crazy. But supposedly they're supposed to be a little bit easier on your hands, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But here we go. Here are the size 11, the collage, square, interchangeables. It's written right on there. So I think for the yarn that we'll use tonight, I'm going to use this Sugar and Cream. I think this is Potpourri, the color. I have a link to this as well, but I'm going to use this yarn to do our little dishcloth here. It's 100% cotton yarn, which is great for, you know, a dishcloth that you're going to wash a bunch of times. So I think with this knitting needle, you know, last time I used 9s, so let's try and find, oh, here's a 10. What are these? Do I have a bunch of 10s? Oh, I got 10 and a halves in here. So it's 11, 10 and a half, 10s, and I'm going to use, well, 9s seem kind of small. I'm going to use these 10s. So we'll get the size 10s out here. Then 8s, and what else do they have? They have the 4.5, US 7. Oh, I might have been reading the millimeters. So, oh yeah, so these are 11. Nope, 10 and a halves, 10s, 9s, 8s, 7, 6, 5, yep, 4, and then 3 and a 2, I'm guessing. Yep. All right, so we do have that extra 10 and a half in here, so that's kind of nice. So, alrighty, let's check this out now. So here's the instructions. There's a cute little pocket in this case, so I'm guessing this is like for your stitch counters or your whatever you need to do cables, whatever else you need. Ooh, mine doesn't zip. I'll have to futz with that. There we go. And a little, this is probably for a little scissors or something. That can go back here. Could do that. I think I got my little green scissors here. Yeah, he can go right in there. That's good. Okay, what else? All right, so we have the cables in here. So the whole thing with this whole thing is I can put different cables on the end of this. They're interchangeable. And the full set comes with, I believe, 3 different kind of firm cables and 3 different soft cables. Ah, look at this craziness. Let's see what we got in here. All right, so this is the tool. So the interchangeable tool. So this will be interesting. I haven't used these before. There's 3 in here. I don't know if they're different. We will read the instructions. Okay, I believe there's a 40-inch, a 24-inch, and a 32-inch in here. So let's just see. And there's also some loose floppy cables and then more firm cables. So this is more like your typical circular needle. Like if you buy a circular needle, here's, you know, the one that I had previously. It's a little stiff like this. So those are the firms, but they also have like these super duper floppy ones. So this would be cool if you're doing the magic loop knitting, because this is it's just like yarn almost. All right, let's separate them. So here's a stiff one, a firm one. Oh yeah, this must be the 40-inch. This is pretty long. So this is the 40-inch firm cable. Maybe it even says on here. Nope, I don't see it. And then, yeah, so here's the 32-inch firm. All right, so I might like throw a wonder clip on this or something. And then we got the floppy ones. We got the 24. This must be the 40. Oh no, this is the 40. That's really long here. So I have never used cables like this, where it's just so floppy. So that might be kind of fun. Let's throw those on. Let's do this medium-sized one. Nah, we'll do this shorty one. So here's the 24-inch. This is that limber floppy ones. Oh, you love the soft ones, Robin. So you've used them before. Yep, so the cables just hold the stitches, Gretchen. So you guys, this isn't going to be like a total knitting tutorial. I do want to do that sometime, but we'll dig into it a little bit. But there are sometimes straight needles, they don't have the cable at all. The cable is just a little fun extra thing that they just kind of hold all the stitches while you stitch. We can we'll do it like an in-depth knitting tutorial one of these days, and we'll look at straight needles versus the circular needles, and this is definitely a more in-depth set than what a beginner should get. I mean, a beginner is welcome to get this, then you don't have to buy anything again, but that's okay. All right, so square, interchangeable, easy for your hands, more uniform stitches. You're going to love your new interchangeable knitting needle set. I hope so. Oh, this set uses the patented click-together prong system, so please read the manual to get started. That's what we're doing. Okay. So I'm just going to look at the pictures here. Beveled prongs. Okay. What are we looking at there? Let's grab our cable here. Okay, so we got that going on. It's got like a little kind of arrow happening. It's just got like two little prongs on there. Okay. Luette Collage square needles are manufactured to the highest quality standards. Assembling and disassembling the needles should require very little force. Tugging means that your prongs aren't lined up right. Oh, and then there's a video link as well. So I did watch the video, and this is looking a lot like the video, so I am going to just give it a go here, you guys. Okay, so I got that little prong, and I got this. Okay, here we go. So on this prong right there, you see the line kind of where my fingernail is. That has to line up with, there's a line right there on this one. So I'm just going to aim those at each other. I'm assuming that's all I do. Ooh, and I think they click together. All right. And the neat things is that this spins too. So my cable won't get all twisted when I stitch because this spins, but that was way easy. Let's get the other guy on right away, and then we'll try taking it off. So I'm going to just line up those lines again. Oh, oop, that one didn't go in. Ooh, this one's kind of popping off. I don't know. I don't think this one's functioning right. Hold on. I don't know. So let's look at this. So I did read from reviews that some people were having a little bit of trouble with the cables. Like this one just doesn't seem like it's clicking. So there was a little thing on here. To ensure your project does not fall off the needles, yeah, that'd be good. Check that your prongs are separated and straight. So no, this one was bent. To straighten and separate gently, insert one prong and bend it back to separate them. Nope, it does not matter right or left. So let me know, you guys, if you have these collage needles. I'd love to hear. But this is not clicking in. Let's try separating the prongs a little bit like they said. Oh gosh, that moved a lot. Okay. Oh no, it's still not clicking in, you guys. All right, there. Now I can't pull it apart. Okay, well, all right. And all of a sudden, it's right all of a sudden. So I would definitely check next time, like if you have these. Yeah, I'm going to check, Gretchen, I think you're right. I'm going to check the other needle as well. Yeah, okay, so this one's in. This one's good to go. So this one I did just separate it a little bit more, and those prongs, and oh, see, no, it's still pulling out. Yeah, I don't know. They do have a lifetime warranty, so I might contact them on this, but let's just see. I'm sure I'm doing some user error shenanigans yet. Let's look at this quick. All right, beveled prongs, tweezer tool. Insert the beveled prongs into the needle. When you hear the click, they are secured. To disassemble. Well, I'm not on that yet. It took me 3 hours to get your bobbin tension right last night. Oh, but you did it. Good job. Good job, Lisa. That's awesome. Okay, this side definitely feels secure. This must be the side that's not working well. All right, well, you know what, you guys, it feels really good. Now, you've heard some interchangeable ones have a key to tighten them. These don't. So these act a little bit differently. Wow, okay, so now they seem fine. I don't know, you guys, it seems fine now, but let's just try. We'll see how it goes. All right. Let's try using this tool to remove it. So there's 3 in here. Maybe just so you can have them in different spots. I don't know why there's really 3. All right, so to release them, we line up those nubbins again there, those 2 lines, which I've already done. And it looks like, so here, this has 2 little prongs in there. Can you guys see that? So two little prongs inside this plastic tool here. And I should be able to, it sounds like, just stick those prongs. They're like the prongs are in the needle now, and I think I just, oh, that was easy. Okay, so that released immediately. So I just squished it together through those 2 little holes, and they kind of just line up. Like I think I could not be on exactly, and if I just rotate a little, it'll be on, and it just popped right out. So let's try and put that together again. I don't know if this is that bad one. Oh, I heard that click this time. Okay, I heard the click. And now it's good to go. I didn't hear that click last time, so here we go. Let's try that again. Oh, popped right out. Oh gosh, that's easy. So, all right, let's try this other one. Line up those lines. Okay, I'm lined up. I've heard that this can be difficult, but for people, but this has been, I mean, it's super easy. So I haven't had problems with that at all. Okay. Easy. That was super easy. Now let's try and get these together again. I'm going to try them the other direction just to see if it pops off on this side again. Oh, I didn't hear that click. All right, but it's not coming apart. Maybe I heard a click. I don't know. All right, that seems together. Let's do this side again. Oh, there, I heard the click. I don't think I pushed all the way in last time. Because this one, it felt all the way in, but then I pushed a little bit more, and then I heard the click. So now it's good. All right, well, that's easy. So there we are. Let's, I'm going to put this guy back in here. Let's play with them a little bit. Let's check them out. So Gretchen, these are not typical knitting needles. These are definitely they're definitely a little advanced. They have, you don't need to be advanced to use them, but they seem all high tech and you know, a lot to it. Your normal knitting needles, like here are knitting needles on a cable, which are called circular knitting needles because, you know, they're in a circle. There's also straight knitting needles, which is just a stick, like your typical 2 sticks that you see, you know, like in movies and in animations and stuff, just 2 sticks. There are double pointed needles, which means there's a point on one end and the other end. They are all kind of used for different purposes, although you can use them interchangeably to some extent. These ones, these collage needles, they're pretty pricey, and they got a lot of bells and whistles, and that's what I'm going to play with today. Like, you know, not all, I've never seen cables this relaxed like this, what do they call it? Like these floppy cables. You know, they don't always pivot, so these pivot on the cable too, which is really nice because if you're knitting with a other cable and you actually get a twist in there, like you just rotate your needle funny, then you got this weird twist, which is annoying. So it's nice that this has that little pivot in there, that it rotates. That's cool. And yeah, these floppies. And then these also are square, which is another unique feature. So this is all a pile of unique features, and I just wanted to check them out. The main reason I wanted to try them is I wanted to try these square needles, and I wanted to have the interchangeable needles because I'm sick of buying knitting needles all the time for every new project. So now I can interchange the length of cable I need with the size needle. But let's look at the squareness. So the idea with the square needles is it's supposed to be easier on your hands. And the reason for that is because I can rest my fingers while I'm knitting on these flat parts. I am not resting on a curved surface. So that curved surface, you're making like a trigger point, like a pressure point, especially after working a long period of time. I mean, I can feel it actually like this. I was a little skeptical of this, but once I heard the reasoning, I'm like, all right, I kind of get it. So like here, I'm holding my knitting needle and I'm pressing, you know, on those two, on the curved surface. So I got some really kind of small points, and that can just cause tension in the hands after a while, and the fingers, I mean, I can feel it just by holding it compared to holding the flat surface. You got this whole flat surface to hold. So that's kind of interesting. I've never felt like that before, like feeling on the flat needles like this, and I can tell already just holding them that it's more relaxed. So I wasn't expecting that, but I believe it. I'm digging it so far. But all right, let's, I'm going to try and knit something here. So I have this big cone of yarn. I'm just going to kind of leave it here. I think I'm just going to cast on a few stitches, and then I will dig into this pattern a little bit. But right now I'm going to just cast on a few stitches. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to do like a little loop here. Pull the loop through. We'll do a real knitting tutorial at some point here, but let's just test these out. Okay, so there's my little slip knot loop. I'm gonna hold the knitting needles on the flat part. They said that if you're uncomfortable with the flat needles, it might be because you're not holding it on the flat part, you're holding it on, you know, the angled part or the points. So let's hold the flat part. I'm gonna cast on, we're gonna cast on like, I don't know, let's cast on 10 stitches or so. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's a bajillion ways to cast on. So don't judge me. I'm just doing like a quick cast on here. Oh, where do you get the huge cones of yarn? So I buy it from a distributor, but I did put a link. I did put a link to it, to some on Amazon. This color. But you guys, if you are interested in cones, like I have those cones of embroidery floss and these cones, maybe I'll do like some sort of sale on like big cones. Send me a direct message or an email or whatever if you are interested in some cones. Maybe we'll have like a weird, embroidery floss cone or yarn cone sale. I just love it. I think it's just fun. Fun to be working off of a giant spool like this. All right, so I'm gonna knit a row here, and I'm gonna knit a row. I'm going to just use the throwing method, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but I just want to give this a go. So these are metal, which is different for me as well. Supposedly people like metal because it slides easily. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm going to do the throwing method. That just means I'm kind of throwing my yarn this way. All right, I haven't used these yet. Let's just see if I can get comfortable. All right, so my thumb is resting on that flat surface. Yeah, the cone is kind of our mascot. We had during that I Love Home project, we used that coral color yarn a lot. All right, so my thumb is resting on that flat surface, and let's make sure this side is too. All right, again, this is the throwing method. I'm by no means a professional knitter, so I'm sure my form is not all there. All right, here's some more yarn. All right, it does make a fun, like, metal noise, a little sliding noise. I kind of like it. It's kind of like that the scissors sound that I like. Okay, so there we go. That's one little row knit. I'm going to try doing it the continental style. That's what it's called, right? So here so I did the throwing method that time of knitting, throwing style. This is going to be the continental style. Continental. Is that what it is, you guys? It sounds funny when I say it out loud. All right, so I'm going to do the first stitch. All right, so here's the continental style, which is what I learned later, but I'm trying to do because it's faster and I like it. So this I'm definitely having both fingers on the surface. I think they feel nice in the hands. I mean, the fingers on the flat surface is new to me and kind of interesting. They're cool, like they're metal. Sometimes I don't. My mom really likes these bamboo ones like this, but sometimes I don't like them as much because I feel like my fingers stick to them every once in a while. Because like if you're stitching a while and just the friction or your hands warm up or get sweaty or something from the yarn, I feel like it kind of is a little sticky on most needles. So these I don't feel that way really. I mean, it does feel like metal. You are holding metal, but it is sliding more. So I've read that some people like metal needles for like lace work, things that they need to get easily from one needle to the next. They're pointy. I mean, all knitting needles are pointy, but some are a little bigger, more blunted. You switched over to this style this summer because the casting style, is causing your bad right shoulder. Yeah, so the Continental, I have the yarn in my left hand here, right here, and I am making my knit stitch. I'm just kind of grabbing the yarn through the loop there, through that hole. So I'm pulling my stitch, and I'm seeing that yarn through, and I'm grabbing it. So the Continental, I just have, I'm having like the tension in my, I'm wrapping it around my finger, my little finger here, because that, if I loosen that, then I go. If I tighten it, then it doesn't go. So I'm kind of constantly doing that. So now I'm starting here just to have like some distance. And so I will knit a few stitches, and then that thread gets shorter and shorter until I loosen my pinky, and then I can pull up and I have more yarn there. Then I tighten my pinky and I stitch to my finger again. So that's kind of, here we go, loosen it. That's how I do the Continental knitting. But I learned how to do the throwing method. So I'll do the throwing method. You prefer the metal, but you had to go get bamboo for getting on a plane. For really, Robin? So did you get metal knitting needles taken away on a plane? Oh man, I'm curious about that. I'm gonna have to look into that. Okay. Oh yeah, so the purl, so you guys, again, I'm not doing a huge knitting tutorial here, but I would love to do one. I love knitting, and it's been a while since I've knit. This just feels so good. This is one of my go-to just chill crafts. So it feels really good doing it again. So yeah, I am only doing knit stitches right now, but I'll definitely do a knit purl thing one of these days. So this is feeling good, and again, I really like this sound. It's kind of like that scissors that I like. So that's what you do when you travel too. You take your bamboo needles. Oh, I would have never thought that. I think the whole beauty of this is that it's got this nice carrying case. But I suppose if you're on a plane, you're really not choosing between 100 projects. You just want the one project. But oh man, I'm gonna have to look that up and test that. I do not want these taken. So this is aluminum, so I don't know, maybe that's not a problem on an airplane. But all right, so I'm gonna undo this, and I want to just start this knitting project here. I'm gonna just knit a little bit to show you, and then I'll show you the increase and decrease. So it's a square dishcloth here, but you're actually knitting it like a diamond. So you're actually starting, I think I started on this side, you're actually starting with a couple stitches, and then you're adding stitches as you go till you get really big, and then you start decreasing stitches. So we're going to do one extra stitch in here called a yarn over, and that makes this little hole. It's used in a lot of like lacy looking knitting. It adds a stitch whenever you do it. So we're using that to our advantage. We're going to add a stitch because we need to keep adding a stitch every row to get it bigger. But it also adds like a little decorative border, right? So we have like 2 stitches on the side here, and then this little hole that's kind of cute as you go up. And then we'll decrease, but there's a special trick in there too, because we still need to add that decorative hole, which adds a stitch. So when we decrease, you got to decrease a stitch by knitting 2 stitches together. Then you got to add that hole, which adds a stitch, and then you got to decrease 2 more stitches by knitting 2 together. So overall, you're decreasing 1 stitch, if that makes sense. So, all right. Yes, Noeline, I would be so unhappy if they took these, if they took these from us. Gretchen, so I am never going to put it on the cables like this for this particular project. Unless I don't work on it for a while, I'll let it hang on the cables. But cables are used a lot of time for circular knitting when I'm like knitting a tube, for example, like if I wanted to knit like a sleeve or something, or I want them to just stay, or if I needed like a large space, if I'm knitting like a ton of stitches, like if I'm knitting a blanket and I have 400 stitches on here, 400 stitches aren't going to fit on just a straight needle. So I want like a nice big cable to hold all those stitches on. Yep, you can use it for socks. There's a whole pile of reasons you might want to use a cable. I know a lot of people just start out with straight needles because that's, you know, that's just the traditional needle. Yeah, that's like straight, like just knitting needles are just the two needles. Everything up from there has like its special purposes and stuff. But yep, I use them for hats, socks. Yeah, I use them for everything now too. I don't think I even own any straight needles anymore. I'm going to use them today as if they are straight needles. So for this pattern, you do not need circular needles. I'm just going to use it as straight needles, which means I'm just going to go back and forth and back and forth. I'm not going to go in a round. So, all right, let's do this. Make this guy here. So this is a super duper easy pattern. I actually have my grandma's handwritten version of this, but we've adjusted it, and you know, there's a lot of people that do this pattern, so it's not like it's a new unique pattern. I'm going to start again by making that loop. So I am just making a slip knot. I'm wrapping it around my finger. I have the end on this side here to the left. Then I'm wrapping it around my finger, and then I'm pulling it through from the back to the front, and that's making a little loop here. See? So I'll do that again. I'm holding it, the end in my hand here, looping it around, like looping it around so the working thread here that's connected to the cone, that's in front. And then I'm going from the back to the front. So it starts in the front and going back to the front. That's my little slip knot. And then the long part that's connected to my cone of yarn here, I'm going to have that on the left side, and I'm going to stick my needle right in there and then just pull up on there. So that's kind of counting as my first stitch. Yeah, a little slip knot. So I'm going to get right down in here. All right, so I'm going to do that just simple cast on again. So again, I'm going to kind of make a loop with my finger. This is just to cause my pinky. This is just so I have tension so it doesn't move away. You guys, I'm using the size 10 needles. You can kind of test, you can do a little swatch with the yarn and see what you like using, because what I knit this with was this size 9. So this was a size 9 needle, and now I'm going to test the size 10 because it's just the square. It looks about the same size, but you know, in theory this is a size 10, which will make my knitting a little looser. So we'll see how that goes. Just giving it a try. So all right, I'm going to loop that around just to hold that tension, and then I'm going to just put my thumb here, and that's it. So I'm going to, so here we go here. Tension, grab with the thumb. Now I'm going to just take my knitting needle and I'm going to loop it around my thumb. So down and under and up. And then I'm going to let go with my thumb. And see, we got a loop. If I pull that tight, we got a little loop there. And I'm not pulling it tight, but I'm going to just leave it kind of gentle there. All right, let's do that again. I'm going to go from the back, grab with my thumb, release a little bit with my pinky there. There we go. And now down and around my thumb again, and I'm going to let go. So that's my third one. We're going to do 4. Lisa, size of the hand does not matter for knitting. That is not what the size of the needles are for. The thickness and width of the needles, just like how thick the needle determines how big your stitches end up being. And it also helps, you want your yarn to kind of pair with the size of your needle. So if I used like the teeniest, tiniest thread, like embroidery floss, for example, and knit with it, with this size needle, I would have very large, airy stitches, right? But if I use a huge fat yarn with this size needle, that fat yarn would look really tight, because this is probably too small of yarn for a big fat, too small of needle for a big fat yarn. So you kind of just have to do a couple like test swatches and see how you like it. All right. And the size of the object, that's where you can start deciding on what size cable you want. So the size of the project doesn't determine how long this needle is or how thick it is. That's more for how you want your stitches to look, like the gauge of your stitches. So, all right, I'm going to do the continental style knitting here. So I'm going to grab it in my hand here. Again, I'm not going to get too much into this. I just want to show you guys this pattern for the evening here. And then we'll do an in-depth knitting tutorial at some point here. So, all right, I got my 4 stitches on here. I'm going to just knit 2 rows. That's what's going to give us our little bottom knit area. So here we go, playing with these collage. Ooh, let's get that first stitch. These collage square interchangeable needles. Actually, you know what? I might use the throwing method because that's how I learned how to knit, and I actually kind of like it for some decorative stitches. And we are going to use a decorative stitch in here, and that's the yarn over. It's not it's not really a decorative stitch. It's just another stitch. But all right, let's do one more row. So I'm doing the throwing method this time. Oh, I like that sound. I don't think everyone would like this sound though. It's got a little metal-y sound, but it's like, this is what it reminds me of, what I keep referring to. It reminds me of my Kai scissors that I like. That sound, that's what it reminds me of. All right, so that's the end of the row. I'm gonna rotate it to start the next row. And here's where we're gonna start to do something different. This is where we're gonna start adding our stitches, and we're gonna add it by doing a yarn over, which makes a hole. So we're gonna make a hole. It's gonna look like an accident, but it's all gonna work out. So I'm gonna knit 2 stitches. All right, 1, 2, and now I'm gonna do the yarn over. So what that is my yarn is at the back here. When I'm working on it, my yarn is always at the back. I'm going to bring it through my 2 needles to the front, almost like I did it on accident. And then I'm going to pretend I'm going to keep knitting. So it's almost like I was knitting a row and accidentally brought it to the front and kept knitting. That's what we're doing. So now we're going to do our next stitch as if we didn't see our little accident here, right? So I'm going to go around the back again. And you can see already that it's making a little extra stitch in here. That's what we want, because we want to increase each row. Normally this might be a mistake if you're just beginning, but this time that's what we're going for. So let's finish the row, which happens to be 2 more stitches. And now we have 5 stitches on the needle. Normally that wouldn't be a good thing, but in this case, we do want that extra stitch because we are increasing our rows as we go. So, all right, we are going to just do that exact same thing over and over again. So let's do it again. I'm going to turn. Here's my working floss. Let's knit 2. 1, 2. And now we're going to do that yarn over, which is kind of that mistake. We're going to bring it through to the front, through the 2 needles, and then keep on knitting. So here's where that yarn over is. We're going to go around our needle again, and whoops, there's that extra stitch we just added, but we're doing it on purpose. And then knit to the end of the row. All right, now we have 6 stitches. So let's do it again. Let's just keep going a little bit. Oh, the heels. It reminds me of high heels clacking on the wood floor. Oh, it reminds me of your mom. Oh, Lisa, that's fun. Oh, I do like this sound though. So there's the knitting 2. All right, now we're gonna do that yarn over. So bringing it around to the front through the 2 needles. Put the yarn, the needle in for the next stitch. Come around. There's where we added that extra stitch and knit to the end. Now knitting to the end, you'll notice we got more stitches here because we keep adding the stitches. We just knit to the end. That's it. All right, let's rotate. I'm going to do a few more rows like this because I want to start seeing, I want to show you guys where we start seeing those holes, those mistakes, the yarn overs that we're doing on purpose to get this pretty like hole. We're increasing it with that yarn over and we're making a hole by the yarn over. So knit 2, that's our little border. Okay, yarn over and then knit to the end. All right, so far I'm still liking the needles. I have to remind myself to put my thumb on the flat surface and not get on the pointy part. I think that'll get a little easier as I go. There you can start seeing our 2-stitch border, and then you can start seeing our little holes in there as well. So all right, I'm going to do one more row that is the throwing method, and then I'm going to switch to continental quick to give that a try. Let's get some more slack here. That's so fun, Noeline. All right, here we go. Throwing method again. I got my yarn in my right hand here. I'm going to throw it around the back needle from back to the front, kind of in the middle there. And there's that loop underneath from there that I'm just going to hook on and pull through and then pull off the needle. So that's the throwing method. Again, we'll do an in-depth tutorial on this on sometime. Maybe sometime soon, since now I have these fun needles. All right, my yarn over and then knitting to the end. Gretchen, I am not counting any more stitches. The only stitches I'm counting, like right now I'm not counting. Like I'm not like, ooh, do I have 7? Do I have 8 on the end? I don't care. It doesn't, I'm not counting at all. The only time I'm counting is those first 2 stitches, because I need to do the 2 stitches before I do the yarn over. All right, I'm going to do one more throwing method one. It's called throwing because I'm kind of like throwing my arm around to get that stitch. So 1, 2, let's do that yarn over, and then knit to the end. Again, I'm not counting to the end. Every time we do that yarn over, we are adding a stitch. And let's take a look at that now. So I want to do a quick cast off for you guys as well. Okay, so knitting to the end. All right, so we've added a few stitches. I mean, our 4 stitches have now turned into 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. All right, we got 10 stitches on here right now. If I pull down on this, kind of shaping it a little bit, you can kind of tell here's where our little holes are starting to form. See, those are where all our yarn overs are. So we got our 2 stitches, which makes this pretty border, and then those holes, which are the yarn overs. And here you can see them add up over time. And then you get this nice big area of knits, and you're keeping on making it bigger and bigger. So I want to quickly do maybe, I'm going to just quickly knit like 3 more rows here, 3 or 4 more rows, and then I'm going to, just to make it a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to show you how to decrease. When I do these, I go up to 45 stitches or so. It doesn't really matter, you know, if it's 45 stitches, 46, or not stitches, rows. Well, yeah, stitches on the needle. So once I keep adding 1 every single row because of that yarn over. Once I get to around 45 stitches, you can make it bigger or smaller, but that's when I start to decrease. But in this case, I'm just going to I'm going to just do a few more rows so I can show you guys the decrease in the next few minutes here. So all right, I'm going to try the continental knitting way now, which for me is a little faster. All right, here's the yarn over. I'm going to help it around. So I'm just going to cruise here real quick, you guys. Now I'm knitting to the end. This is going to help me see how these collage square needles feel at kind of my normal pace here. Yes, this blue is the same yarn, it's just a different color. So the nice thing about continental knitting is I don't have to let go of my yarn. I can keep holding on to my yarn, which helps me start the next row faster. Oh, I think that sound is relaxing. You know, I think to maybe some people it would be a little maybe grating, but it's not like a sharp metal sound. It's kind of like a soft metal sound. Like a dull metal. I kind of like it. These are super light, the needles too, just because they're that aluminum. All right, last row, and then I'm going to show you guys the decrease here. Get my big giant cone here. All right. Yarn over. And to the end. You know, Janet, you always like the sound too. Yeah, it's fun. I think I'm definitely going to have to get used to these square needles. I get the idea of it, and I do like the feel of my thumb on the flat surface. I think I just need a little practice on holding them. I'm into the light fabric and yarn lately. Lisa, you're totally right. So I've done a lot of bright colored quilts, of bright colored stitching lately, and all of a sudden I feel the need to kind of just be light and neutral. Isn't that funny? Oh, I was going to show you guys. I'll show you guys at the end here. But there, now we can start to see this kind of bulk of knitting. This whole entire center area of knitting is starting to form. So here's all our holes around the side from the yarn over, and we're starting to see like a little triangle happen, right? All right, I think that's enough. I'm going to show you guys the decrease now. So again, I would continue, you know, knitting 2, yarn over, knit to the end. I would continue rows like that until I have about 45 stitches here. I think I have probably, well, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I have 13 stitches right now. So a little ways to go to get to that 45. But let's start decreasing. So pretend I have 45 stitches here. All right, I'm going to do the yarn or the throwing method just because I think it's easier to show you guys. All right, we're going to knit 2 like we... Actually, we're just going to knit 1. All right, so we're going to knit 1. We are going to knit 2 together. That will make it look like our 2 stitches. So we still want the look to be the same, like 2 stitches, a yarn over. The yarn over makes the hole, so we want the hole after 2 stitches. But adding the hole, so we want to decrease by a stitch every single row. But we got a problem because the yarn over that makes that cute little hole, that adds a stitch. So to decrease a stitch every row and add that stitch, we have to actually decrease 2 stitches every row because we're decreasing 2 and adding 1. So ultimately, with math, you end up decreasing 1 overall. So if that makes sense. So all right, let's knit the 1. Now we're going to knit 2 stitches together. That's going to be our first decrease. So here's our 2 stitches there. I'm going to go through both of them now instead of just the 1. And I'm going to just finish the knit stitch. So there we go. Now two stitches go off the needle. It's kind of scary. Again, might look like a mistake in any other time, but that's what we want to do this time. All right, now we're going to add that hole because we did 2 stitches, and after that 2 stitches, we have a 2-stitch border. We need to add that hole, and that hole is that yarn over. So we're going to go through the needle again, through the middle of the needles from the back to the front. And then we are going to knit 2 more stitches together because we need that other decrease, right? So I went through 2 stitches instead of just 1. And then we are going to wrap around. So we've added the yarn over stitch right there, and we're decreasing a stitch here by knitting 2 together. All right. So that's our main deal there. We've knit 1, we've knit 2 together, decreasing it by 1. We've yarned over, adding another 1, and then we've knit 2 together, decreasing 1 again. So overall, we've decreased 1. So that's where all the math is happening in these first couple stitches. And then we just knit to the end, like we did at the beginning. Knit to the end. I don't have to count these at all. We are just stitching. Oh, Robbie, yes! You know, I have not knit for over 6 months, I think, which is so sad saying it out loud, and it feels so good to do it again. And you know, I get to play with my new needles too, which is always fun. All right, let's do that decrease again. How long does it take me to do a dishcloth like this blue? Not longer than a movie. I think that's how I'd have to measure it. I'd say it's about a movie length or a little less. I haven't made one in a while. And actually, so with a cone like this, you guys, the sugars and cream cone, I think I did the math. I think I did 15 of these out of 1 cone. So that's awesome. Like if you're doing gifts or something, like these are so cute, folded up with like a little ribbon around. It's a great little like, moving gift, new home gift. And yeah, if you want a bunch of matching ones, I think I could get 15 out of that cone. All right, so let's do another row here. And the sugars and cream is 100% cotton. And what's nice about just knitting back and forth is it makes all these little bumps, and it's the same on both sides. And that's, you know, great for scrubbing. So I like it. Like it for a dishcloth. I love making them. They're so easy and simple. I don't have to count except for 1 and 2. The first 2 stitches I have to count, and then I can just knit to the end, which makes it just relaxing. It's a non-thinking knitting project, which is the kind of knitting projects I like. So, all right, there's my first stitch. That's a normal knitting stitch. Then we're going to knit these 2 together to decrease 1. So let's go from the right to from the left to the right through both. I'm in both stitches now. Wrap around. All right, now we're going to yarn over to make that hole and to add a stitch. We don't really want to add a stitch, but we want that hole. So we're adding a stitch because we want the hole. And then knitting through 2 again to decrease another stitch. So we've decreased 1 overall. There, that's that. And then knit to the end. So I'm going to keep doing this. Oh gosh, Janet, this is my number 1. This and crochet is my number 1 relaxing Zen craft. It's like therapy. Exactly. I am so with you on that. Oh, Jenna says that she can knit one of these on her lunch hour. Oh, you do about 40 rows on a size 6 needle. Okay, so there's a variation for you. Jenna does hers a little bit smaller and on a 6 needle, so her knitting will be much tighter. So this is rather loose. So remember, you guys, I said that I did this with a size 9 needle. I did this with a size 10, and look, it is a lot looser than this one here. So that's the difference. I used a bigger needle. It ends up being looser, which, you know, that might be the look that you want. It's a little floppier, which is kind of nice. But yeah, you just have to kind of experiment a little bit on the gauge of it all. All right, let's try and finish this tiny square that I'm doing. All right, knit 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, knit to the end. Easy peasy. Oops. Except for I split the stitch there. I stuck my needle in between my yarn instead of through the whole yarn. That's a mistake I make a lot. That's a beginner mistake that I'm sure everyone here who has knit has made. And you don't have to be a beginner to make that mistake either. All right, let's take a look at this quick. All right, you can kind of see it decreasing, right? So I'm going to go a little longer here, guys. I want to finish this with you so I can cast off. So let's see if I can get this done. We're going a little late here. Knit 2 together. Ooh, yes, you could make these bigger to make a cushion. You could do this same pattern in like super fancy poofy yarn and knit it bigger to make a pillow. Ooh, that would just be so cute. Yeah, you could keep knitting this bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and make a whole afghan. You could do it with bigger needles and smaller yarn to make it really airy. This pattern, I mean, there's just so many options for it. So, and it's like, again, a non-thinking pattern. It's not like one of those patterns where you have to count every single stitch and make sure that you know what row you're on and all that. You just don't. You just do these first little bits at the front, the knit 2, yarn over, knit to the end when you're increasing, and the knit 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, and then to the end. That's all you got to know. So I'm going to go decrease until I have 5 stitches on the needle. So it's a little different from the beginning. I'm going to have 5 stitches on the needle, not 4. And then we'll finish this guy up. We're almost there. I gotta do 2 more rows, it looks like. I think I got 7 on the needle right now. Oh, yep, I like that sound. Yep, okay, 2 more. Let's do it. Almost done, you guys. But thanks for checking out these collage, this collage interchangeable needle set with me. This isn't sponsored or anything by them. I just wanted them. I wanted the cute interchangeable needles, and I'm sick of buying needles with every project, and I wanted to give these square needles a try too. So I'm really liking them. Oh, Fran, thanks for joining. I'm happy you like the videos. Happy you're here. All right, this is my last row because I'm gonna get to 5 stitches after this row. Yarn over. Oh, you know what? It's not quite my last row. I'm gonna add 1 more row. So at the end, I mean, this is kind of mangled here, but here's my last hole. I want a border. I want this border to feel like it's 2 around. So I'm gonna just add 1 more row of knitting. 1 more tiny row of knitting just to add an extra thickness so that my border all the way around looks like 2 stitches. There we go. This is just, I'm not doing anything. All I'm doing is knitting from beginning to end. And there we go. It's like a little shrunken square there. So let's do the final cast off. So cast off is just when you're taking the needles, you're taking the your project off of the needles basically. So we need to close these loops somehow so that it doesn't all fall apart when we take it off, right? So, all right, there's, again, tons of ways to cast off, and there's all different purposes. Sometimes you want it to be stretchy, sometimes you don't. I am not a professional knitter. This is how I do it. I always have to look up the different kinds of cast-offs and cast-ons. for whatever type of project and need. But my typical, just easy peasy way of doing it is like this. So I'm going to knit 2. So that's my first, and then my second. There, so I have 2 stitches on my right needle here. I'm going to take this needle and take the back stitch and flip it over the front. So here's what I mean. I'm going to take this back stitch, I'm going to go up to the edge of the needle, and I'm going to flip it over the front and then let go. So it just has one more stitch on here. So I've looped it around there. So let's do that again. I'm going to make a stitch so it gets onto the other needle. All right, now I got 2 on there. And we're going to take the back one and flip it around, kind of like a little chain stitch. So I'm going to flip it over the front one and off the needle. So there we go. It's making a little actually chain stitch here. All right, one more. Take the back and flip it off the needle. There we go. And last one, we're going to knit and then grab that back stitch and flip it over the front. And we're left with 1 stitch on the needle here, and I'm just going to pull that up like this. I can take my knitting needles off now. Let's snip. And I'm going to pull that thread, that ending thread, through my loop here, and that will kind of close it off into a knot. And there we go! So if I stretch this out a little bit, we can see that little square. You know, we knit it like this, like a diamond. So here's all our increases. We got this pretty 2-stitch border around. We got all our little holes from our yarn over, and then all our little knit stitches. We increased and then we decreased up to the top. So we got this itty bitty cotton washcloth here. I might actually use this for like a little, like a face pad, like a, you know, put like toner on here and like a little face sponge, a reusable face sponge, I think is what I'm going to use this for. So all I have to do is kind of weave in the ends. Like just take like a tapestry needle or like a big needle. You can actually take a crochet hook even and weave in the ends into some of your stitches and snip it off. Same thing up here, and then you're done. Easy peasy peasy. And here we go. Here's the big version with the size 9 needle. This is the size 10 needle. You can see it's a little looser. You know, whatever you want, see what you, just play around. If you want this tighter, then use a smaller needle, and then you're good to go. So awesome, you guys, and thanks again for letting me play with these new collage needles here. Next time, I use the that floppy circular needle here. Next time I'll try some of these, the more firm ones, which is more like a normal circular needle, but it was fun to try the floppy one. Awesome, you guys. All right, I'm going to flip you around, and we'll call it an evening here for Finish It Friday. There, project beginning to end, kind of, right? So that qualifies for a Finish It Friday, right? So here's this little, I guess you could call it a little swatch, the little swatch that we knit up here. I'm going to use it just for like a face pad. But here's that other, remember at the beginning here I told you that I had to cast off a project from this yarn so I could use it. It's just like another washcloth basically, but it's just a little different size and a little different stitches. It's got these seed stitches, so it's even more bumpy. And this was a pattern from Pearl Soho, I think, a free pattern. But yep, so technically I kind of finished this project too. I got to weave in the ends, but that's it. So you guys, thanks again for letting me try these Kollage interchangeable square needles. That was fun for me. I've been wanting those for a while. And yeah, give this little washcloth a try and let me know how it worked out for you. And if you've never knit before, I know this wasn't really an in-depth knitting tutorial. We didn't dig into all the different reasons, but if you do give it a try, if you haven't knit before and you do give this a try, I would love to hear how it worked out for you, or some of the issues you may have had, or some of the wins. Let me know in the Penguin and Fish Crafters group on Facebook here, and take a photo and share. Some other people might have some insights if you have some mistakes and stuff, and we'll take a look at it later. Gretchen, give it a go. There is nothing, you can just pull it out if it doesn't work, right? So awesome, you guys. We'll do some more knitting. I haven't done this in ages, and it felt awesome. So we'll do some more of this again sometime. So until Monday at 8:30 p.m., I'll let you guys have a good weekend, and I'll see you back then. So thanks again. See you later, guys. Good night.